name is Yvonne Bowman, and I was born on the 30th of July 1929, and that was in London, South London. And my mother, she played hockey, she played tennis, she played, they both loved the theatre. Grandpa directed in the theatre and was producer of various things, and all amateur acting. When we moved to Tunbridge Wells, my mother played in for the Tunbridge Wells Ladies, and when I left school I played for Tunbridge Wells Ladies in hockey team as well, and Grandpa was the referee because he liked being part of sports, so he took a course and he became quite a clever guy at doing that. This is the 4-generation run. I am the baby on my great-grandmother's lap, Mrs. Rappel. And I'm the baby on her lap. And then on the right is my mother, Winifred, and on the left is her mother, Alice, who is the little lady, and she was, as I told you, I think barely 5 foot. So I remember my father worked in London, and when we lived in London, we had a dog called Jockey, and Jockey was absolutely adored by the whole family. And at 5 to 6 every evening, the door would be open, the dog would walk down the street, and 2 or 3 minutes later the dog would come back bearing the evening newspaper, and we knew that my father was on his way home from London. That's a photograph of my father during the war, and in his ARP uniform. They all had to do this during the war, everybody who was not called up. Because Grandpa, of course, had been in the 1914-18 war. He'd lied about his age, left boarding school at 16 and went into the army because, of course, in those days everybody was, your country needs you. He and his school friend, his father owned the High Rocks Hotel, and my father and he used to have holidays down in Tunbridge Wells, which is incredible, staying at the High Rocks Hotel. And he was, as you see in this photograph, that's Grandpa, looking a bit Hitlerian because it looked as though he's got a nasty little black moustache here. But I think he shaved that off, thank goodness. I mean, my childhood was pretty carefree, but wartime was hard in a way because I was evacuated. I was an evacuee, sent down to a so-called aunt who I'd never met in my life. She was a distant cousin of Grandpa's. I was very lucky there because they had some absolutely lovely neighbours whose name, unfortunately, I can't remember, but they were rock climbers, and they used to take me rock climbing, and their daughter married a very famous climber.
How did you meet Grandpa, and how old were you?
I was 18, and I met him at the Young Conservatives. Well, a girlfriend of mine said, "Oh, we've got to go to the Young Conservatives." So along we went, and it was pretty much a matching place as well. I mean, there was study of politics, of course, yes, but it was great. And we had what we called the gang in Tunbridge Wells. The gang was a real gang. I think there were about 16 or 17 of us, and they were mostly Tunbridge and Skinner's School boys, and some from other public schools. And we all met every day in the Cadina, every weekend in the Cadina Cafe. We all had coffee there. A lovely story about the Cadina Cafe, about your grandpa, your dearest husband, Grandpa. Well, we always had animals. We always had, it began with the wedding when I came home from my honeymoon, and Grandpa said to me, "Hold out your hands." So I had to hold out my hands and shut my eyes, and then when I opened, there was Jessie, our first dog, which was the most beautiful Cocker Spaniel, and she was lovely. Jessica and Tandy became our 2 dogs, and Tandy was a real sort of a rough farm dog, but she was Grandpa's dog.
What advice do you have on love and marriage for couples today?
Stick to it. Don't, for goodness sake, give up at the first row, the first feeling of not being happy. the first thing when it's wrong and, oh, I'm going to give up and that's hopeless, but don't. Sleep on it. Yes, have time apart, most important, have time apart. It happened to me, of course it happened to me. There were times when I thought, it's no good, I'm going home to Mum. And then I thought, no, I'm not going home to Mum because I'm going to admit to her that I made the wrong decision perhaps, and so my pride wouldn't let me. And I think one has to think along those lines because in fact a long life together is very comforting, very comfortable, marvellous. We were married for 68 years when Grandpa died, and I just think lots of challenges. It was probably managing to lead a good lifestyle, but on a very limited income. I never wasted anything. And I used to wash the plastic bags and keep things, and everybody would say, oh my goodness me, what are you keeping that for, Mum? And I would say, well, it might come in useful, and usually it did come in useful. You know, we didn't always have all that much money. When we were first married, we were desperately poor because Grandpa didn't have much capital behind him. And we suddenly had a farm, and he was working like mad on the farm, and we only had one member of staff. But I was spoiled because I always had help.
What was one of the hardest things for you at my age?
I think again, because we educated our children privately, and educating children in England is extremely expensive, and our boys, I suppose at 39, how old would your father be? He was born in 51 and I was 21, so 39, he'd been 18, so he'd just been leaving, well, he would have left school because he was rather bright, and he was very bright, and so he went up to Cambridge fairly early, still educating children, and even though one had a certain amount, we were very lucky because we were educating 2 other boys. In those days you got a bit of help with the education. Nowadays of course you don't. And that was really good, so it was quite tough at your age. We didn't do anything that involved spending too much money. I mean, we used to go camping, and I took the children, all 3 boys, Grandpa would never go on holiday during the summer, or rarely. He was very bad about going on holiday, so I used to go on holiday alone with the children. We would all go camping. I'd borrow my Girl Guide tents and we'd put them up and we'd camp all over the place. But yes, I've just been reminded that at your age we had one of our tragedies. We had so much luck because when we were first married, Grandpa was very fortunate through his father to have got a farm, but we were only renting. And then because the owner of the farm was, I have to be very careful how I put this, he wasn't exactly the best landlord and he needed cash, and so he was selling off a lot of his properties, and so we were able to buy our farm as sitting tenants, and we were going on a skiing holiday, and while we were away our home burnt down, so that was terrible. So we then had to go and live in a farm cottage. Friend said to me, well, now here's your chance to get a job. And of course I hadn't had any job beforehand because I was studying when I met Grandpa of the Young Conservatives. And so I took a job 3 days a week, and the insurance company gave us a certain amount of money to rent somewhere while our new home was being built. And so we rented a little flat in London. And your Uncle Robert went to a little local school there.
What was I like as a child in your eyes?
Oh, of course, I adored you. You were my first grandchild. Yes, lovely. And the one thing I remember, and I talk to everybody about, is when I think we were meeting up at Kosciuszko, and Grandpa was there as well. It was Uncle Ian had come home and decided he wasn't going to be a psychologist anymore, he was going to be a farmer. And he was running the farm, and and Grandpa and I came up, met you at Kosciuszko. There's a lovely picture, I think, somewhere of Dad and of your father and Grandpa. when we walked to the top of Kosciuszko, because we were there not during the snowy season. And anyhow, your mother was absolutely wonderful, because all the time she kept on talking about us, and she showed you as a child photographs of Grandma and Grandpa, me, Bruce and me. And when we met at Kosciuszko, we went separately. We drove up there, and you were already staying in the hotel. And suddenly there was a scream of "Grandma, Grandma!" And that was you running across to meet me. And you knew who I was, and that was wonderful. I remember pushing you all the way around Tumbarumba by the hour because you wouldn't sleep. I used to push you around in a pram to give your mother a break.
What are some of your favourite memories in your life?
One yesterday, that's going to bring tears to my eyes, when my two great-grandchildren, who I had known Hugo when he was a few weeks old, but when Callie and Hugo came and sat on my lap as though I was just part of the family, and I'd never met Callie, and she was only 2 3/4, is she? Yes. That was a lovely moment.
What life advice do you have for your grandchildren and for your great-grandchildren?
Oh, I don't know that I'm very good at giving advice, quite honestly. For the great-grandchildren, I don't know, because I don't know what life holds for them, but I am worried about the world, I'm worried about the state of the world, I'm worried about pollution, I'm worried about all of those things that may affect their future. Just be happy. Think of other people. Don't do anything that you wouldn't want done to yourself. And just try to be caring. Most important thing.